Let's talk about one of those secrets that really separates the pros from the amateurs in machine learning. It's a step that seems so simple, but it's incredibly easy to mess up, and it can make or break your model. I'm talking about feature scaling. So let me just ask you this. Are you absolutely sure your features aren't tricking your model? Because you can have the cleanest data, the most powerful algorithm, but if your numbers are all over the place on totally different scales, you might be sending your model some seriously wrong signals.
Check this out. It's a super common scenario. You've got two features, right? Age, maybe it goes from 0 to 100. And then you have income, which could easily be, 100,000, 200,000, whatever. To a machine learning model, that giant number for income just screams, "Hey, look at me, I'm way more important." It completely drowns out the signal from the age column just because it's a bigger number. That right there is the illusion of scale.
And that is exactly where feature scaling comes in to save the day. It's a pre-processing step where we basically wrangle all our numbers and put them on a similar scale. It's all about making sure every feature gets a fair shot at influencing the model's decision. You're creating a level playing field for your data. Okay, so for Act 1, let's really dig into the why. I mean, why is this such a big deal? How can a simple difference in numbers actually break a sophisticated model? To really get this, think of it like this. Your model is kind of like a hiker who's been dropped into a huge mountain range, and their only job is to find the absolute lowest point. In machine learning, we call this landscape the loss surface, and that lowest point, well, that's the best possible answer your model can find.
Now, take a look at this. This is what that landscape looks like when you don't scale your data. It's not a nice round bowl, it's this stretched out, weirdly shaped valley. And an optimizer, something like gradient descent, can't just take a direct path down. No way. Instead, it gets stuck taking this painful, slow, zigzagging route to the bottom. It gets there eventually, maybe, but it takes forever.
So, to boil it all down, scaling does three absolutely brilliant things for us. First, it reshapes that ugly valley into a nice round bowl, so gradient descent can just march straight to the solution. That means way faster training. Second, for any algorithm that cares about distance, think k-nearest neighbors, it makes things fair. A $1,000 difference in salary no longer completely outweighs a 40-year age gap. And third, it makes regularization unbiased. Penalties from Lasso and Ridge are now applied to features based on their actual impact, not just because their units are huge. But here's a crucial little side note. This doesn't apply to everything. Tree-based models like random forests or gradient boosting, they don't care about scale at all because they just split data. They don't measure distances. All right, we totally get the problem now. So let's move on to the solution. Welcome to Act 2, where we're going to open up the toolbox and look at the actual techniques we can use to make our features play fair. First up is a classic, normalization. You'll also hear this called min-max scaling. And it's pretty simple, really. It just takes all your data and squishes it into a fixed range, usually between 0 and 1. This is fantastic for things like neural networks, which really like to see input values in that kind of neat, bounded range. Plus, it doesn't care if your data has a weird distribution. Now, our second major tool is standardization. This one's a little different. Instead of cramming everything into a 0 to 1 box, it transforms your data so that it has a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. This is super powerful for a lot of classical algorithms like linear regression or logistic regression that just perform better when the data looks kind of like a classic bell curve. So the million-dollar question, which one should you actually use? Well, here's the breakdown. Normalization gives you that nice, tight range. But look at that last row, outlier sensitivity. It's a big deal. If you have one person with a crazy high income, normalization will squash everyone else into a tiny little corner between 0 and 0.1. It's really sensitive. Standardization, on the other hand, isn't bothered as much by those outliers, which is why it's often the safer default choice for many people. And now for the grand finale, the climax of our story. In Act 3, we're going to talk about a really subtle but absolutely disastrous mistake that can ruin everything. It's a trap called data leakage. And I'm not being dramatic here. This isn't some tiny error. It's a critical model-destroying issue. Data leakage is what happens when information from the future, from your test data, accidentally spills into your training process. What you get is a model that looks like a genius during development, but then completely falls on its face in the real world. Why? Because it basically cheated. It peeked at the answer key. So what does this look like? This slide shows you exactly what not to do. The mistake is applying your scaler to the entire dataset before you split it into training and testing sets. The second you do that, you've calculated things like the mean or the min and max using data points that are supposed to be kept secret in your test set. And that's it. Game over, the damage is done. Your training process has been contaminated. So, how do we avoid this catastrophe? Let's move to the resolution. There is a simple, powerful rule you absolutely have to follow. This is the golden rule of preprocessing. Burn this slide into your brain. Seriously, this is the single most important thing to remember. You fit on the training data only. That means you learn all the scaling rules, the mean, the standard deviation, whatever, from the training data. Then you take those exact same rules and apply them to transform both your training set and your test set. And here's what that looks like in a professional workflow. Step 1, always, is split your data. No exceptions. Step 2, you use fit transform, but only on the training set. That function is great. It learns the rules and applies them in one step. But then, and this is the key, for step 3, on the test set, you only use transform. You are applying the rules you already learned. This guarantees zero information from the test set ever contaminates your model. But what if I told you there's an even better, safer way to handle all of this? A way to automate the correct workflow and make data leakage pretty much impossible? Well, the ultimate safeguard is a Scikit-Learn pipeline. It's this beautiful object that wraps up your scaling step and your model together, and it automatically follows the golden rule every single time. It's the real pro move, but that's a whole topic for another day.